Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 2018. This is a really big year, and welcome to this Gene Key of the Day episode. Today we're going to be looking at some of these planetary cycles as they move throughout the year and the archetypal patterns that will be unfolding for us and through our lives throughout this year. So take a deep breath and there's so many beautiful challenges. I mean, when we look at our world today, we're really seeing the tipping point that we're coming to in whichever way we go as a world, as societies and cultures, is really going to be influencing the generations to come. And so this year, with the shifts that are going to be happening, and we'll touch on what those are, there's so much opportunity for us to consciously co-create the destiny of this planet and of the evolution of consciousness. So let's get to it. And actually, before I jump into details, I want to share something that Robert Ohata, who's been really inspiring me lately with his holographic archetypal understanding of planets and soul contracts and much more, said about this year. He said, "We will experience many manifested consequences of karma that have been building in the collective psychic field, which will show us, without question, just the precarious balance that we now live in." So that just puts into frame and perspective 2018 and what a game changer it really is. So the first thing that I want to say about 2018 is that, we started out January 1st with a super full moon in Cancer and the sun in Capricorn. And so I just want to use that as almost like a symbolic stamp of archetypal energy, almost like the cosmos were like, here is some mojo that can support you in working with what's to come throughout the year. So it's almost like 38 and 39. The Sun and Venus conjunct in 38, which is the gene key of the new year in terms of the Gregorian New Year, January 1st. And the moon in its programming partner in 39. So 39 moving from regurgitate my memory, the shadow of provocation into the gift of dynamism and liberation. And 38 holding the code of the warrior from the shadow of struggle to the gift of perseverance and the city of honor. So what I'm feeling in this is okay, so summon the perseverance and that divine warrior archetype to find that fight worth fighting for in order to liberate our blocked channels and so that we can be in full vital energetic activity throughout the year and be of service. So face your habits and struggles and unblock your energy. So I'm going to touch on some of the slower moving planets, the outer planets, as well as Jupiter and Saturn. And we'll start with Jupiter. Jupiter is playing a very profound role in the collective psyche and our personal lives right now as it travels through Scorpio and blows up and expands our awareness and capacity to work inside of the shadow archetypes of Scorpio. And so we're doing a lot of alchemical work here. And it seems like the importance of our capacity to transform and alchemize is absolutely necessary if we're going to make it through what we're facing as a planet. So I made a statement for each of the planets in relation to the gene keys and signs that they're generally traveling through this year. So Jupiter will be mostly in the 1st and 43rd gene key this year, about 10 months of the year. And then it will move on into the Sagittarian keys towards the end. So the Jupiter guidance is to expand our alchemical capacities, bringing about massive breakthroughs in our creative potential and empowerment by going deeper than we've ever gone into our patterns of destruction and sabotage, owning our part to claim our power. Super powerful aspect of this year's unfolding. We will be touching this more throughout the year. So moving to Saturn. Saturn entered the sign of Capricorn, its home state, December 20th of 2017, and will be in the sign of Capricorn for the majority of the next 3 years. So primarily for 2018, it will be inhabiting the 58th gene key, and it will spend about 3 months in the 10th gene key, where it is right now, moving into the 58th pretty close in January 22nd. Saturn plays a very particular role this year because all of the transformation that's going on the world stage is very reflective of Pluto and Capricorn. We've talked about it a bit. You've probably heard it. Pluto is transforming and bringing our awareness of the corrupt shadow patterns inside of our governments, the structures of our societies, and so forth. And so Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008 and has been traveling up until now. It's a little over halfway through Capricorn since then. And so now Saturn is going to come and kind of do a check and bring into hyper focus like all of the resolved aspects, things that haven't actually come through and met their resolution. It's going to be coming and bringing those things back up through events that might be shifting things in our societies, in our world. So Saturn is bringing us some great lessons. And so the guidance that I am receiving from this is that we are cultivating our capacity to anchor in our inner vital resources and energy reserves by counteracting our dissatisfaction, by using our dissatisfaction with how things are unfolding on the world stage as fuel for creative service. The 58 is really good about taking all the unrest about how things are not the way that we want them to be and turning them inwards to access the vaults of our vitality so that we can be in joyful service. So that's pretty cool. Chiron, the wounded healer, is making a big shift this year. Chiron has been in the sign of Pisces since 2011 and is now, this year, in spring of 2018, will be moving into Aries. So it will be moving from the 36th gene key into the 25th, and it will spend most of the year in the 25th, but we're going to have still many months in the 36th. So the guidance that I'm hearing from Chiron is that we are cultivating the capacity to heal the sacred wound in the constrictions and in the turbulence of our lives, and to embody the medicine of acceptance and compassion for the world at this time. These two gene keys, 36 and 25, both really touch the sacred wound, which is perfect territory for Chiron to be traveling. And the gifts of acceptance and compassion, actually it's humanity, acceptance and of our humanity and compassion for that, are these highly medicinal qualities this year that we can be giving the world, and will probably bring about a lot of healing to the more crunchy, edgy aspects that are unfolding this year. So Uranus, the revolutionary, is another planet that's making a big shift after being in Aries since 2011 as well. After 7 years, it's moving into Taurus this spring of 2018. So this is another area of major shift in the archetypal landscape. So it's going to spend the majority of the year in the 3rd gene key, and it will dip into the 27th for some months. And the guidance here is cultivating the capacity to embrace change and to take radical risks in innovation, particularly in the sector of resources, the natural world, and personal values. We could go on and on about the revolutionary energy of Uranus and what it has in store for us. But let's move on and touch on to Neptune. So Neptune is in Pisces and will stay in Pisces, and in fact it will be in just one gene key this entire year, the 63rd gene key, from doubt to inquiry and truth. And so the guidance here is cultivating the capacity to surrender our doubt and let the mystical flow of truth to guide us in uniting the world and in the healing of our oceans on the planet and inside of ourselves. And last but not least, Pluto. So as introduced when talking about Saturn, Pluto is really opening us up to the deep shadows of corruption inside of our world governance and our nations, and down to the very individual levels of our own conditioned realities. And so Pluto will be spending most of the year, 9 months of the year, in 54, and it will have the spring, 3 months of the spring, in 61. So hopefully it will be bringing some inspiration from within our psychosis back into the 54th gene key that moves from greed to aspiration and ascension. This is like the epitome of our economic crises in the world. And so the guidance from Pluto is that we have a collective opportunity to transform our greed into aspiration. That as we continue to face the corrupt shadows of our social, economic, and ecological structures, that we alchemize them to serve a higher purpose. So much possibility inside of all of these patterns for greater awakening, greater consciousness, and really co-creating and playing our part in shifting the tides. So the next thing we're going to do is roll the planet die for some kind of insight into what's the planet that wants to reveal some extra messages for us today. Mercury. How perfect. Mercury, the messenger, is the one that sort of bridges the world, similar to Chiron, but it bridges the worlds and allows us to perceive and make sense of the holographic nature of reality. So Mercury right now is in the 26th gene key, and it will have 3 retrogrades throughout 2018, all in fire signs. So let's pull a card and see what kind of contemplation is here for us with Mercury. We've pulled the creative contemplation card to sing. Improvise a song about this key. So currently, and on January 1st, Mercury was in the 26th gene key that moves from pride to artfulness and invisibility. It's the trickster key. So this is an invitation for us all to improvise a song about the 26th and how Mercury has some messages for us in that. That's a fun way to end. Many blessings to you for 2018. May your year be bounteous and dedicated to the work at hand and joyful in the process.